probably not said this publicly.
Yes.
For many months, I would see him.
So, but by 1975, I joined an aggressive group of evangelists.
The Lord himself took me on a journey where he began to pull me closer.
The guy says, I want to date you. And if he dates you for 2 or 3 years, now you are outdated.
Okay.
I want to move on. He has not lied.
You know how sometimes our children will tell you, I can swim, and then you hit the point.
They'll go down like a rock.
You're welcome with Life Scene with Dr. Joe Takon podcast, where real life issues intersect with dialogue, thoughtful dialogue, and biblical insight regarding the issues that affect the common man. Across the country and across the world right now, so much is happening. Students are on the streets, people are on the streets, Republicans are fighting Democrats, Democrats are fighting Republicans, Israel is fighting almost everybody from Hamas to Hezbollah to Iran and Iraq, and Russia is fighting Ukraine. And in America in particular, we have a president who has taken upon himself to introduce global tariffs against almost every nation in the world. But beyond the tariffs, there are also other issues that affect almost every individual in this country. People who've been in this country for decades are worried about their immigration status. Some of them are American citizens, some of them have green card, they are green card holders, but everybody is concerned. There's fear on the street. Only recently, one of the senators said that we are all afraid. Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska. So in this series, what we do, we look beyond the headlines. We dig deeper. We dive deeper into some of the issues that are affecting the common man, the news, and the issues that are on the lips of everybody. And so today we are going to take on this topic, this issue that is almost universally affecting everybody, and that is the immigration matter. With me in the studio today is a notable attorney who works in a reputable law firm. We are excited because she's an immigration attorney, and she will know, no other person knows this topic better than an immigration attorney. Natalie Griggs, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to discussing today.
Wow. And I know you are going to really educate our audience and educate our listeners in this notable expression. In this first episode, I want us to talk about some of the things that are concerning to people, not just in this country, but around the world, because beyond the borders of America, people are concerned about what is going on in America. Only recently, Spain, for instance, I don't know if you heard, Spain decided that they're going to take all the people that America throws out. So I want to ask you this first question. How would you describe the overall political tone in the U.S. around immigration in 2025?
Wow, I think that's a loaded question. I would say currently in 2025, the political tone with immigration is just very chaotic and honestly very disheartening.
Okay.
Specifically, I think a lot of the misconceptions that are getting out in the media, a lot of the fake news, if you will, that's being spewed on numerous avenues regarding immigration. I just think that it has unfortunately shaped people's minds and beliefs in a negative way.
Okay. And why so? Why do you think that people are perceiving this thing from a very negative perspective?
I think part of it is specifically because people don't understand.
Okay.
I think immigration law is very, very niche. It's something that is not widely taught or widely broadcast.
Yeah.
And specifically in 2025, every day immigration is changing.
Something new is happening.
Something new, a new policy, new belief, craziness, chaos.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you this. I know this is not a political show, and we don't intend to make this conversation political, even though when you talk about immigration matters, it's difficult to extract politics out of it. But why do you think, or do you think it's really possible to take the politics out of the immigration topic?
So, in my head, I'm an idealist. I think that it would be great if we could. The realist in me is not really sure if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there would be a way to make it more fair and to kind of take the political background and beliefs away from the immigration court system to make it reputable and fair across the board.
Okay. Now, do you think that the immigration discourse is a predominantly Republican or Democratic issue? Because I know this polarization about the discourse has made some people think that it's either left or right. And what do you think about that?
I will say the immigration issue has been in the forefront for decades.
Yeah.
So from both the Republican side as well as the Democratic side.
Yeah.
I think the issue is more of the word choices used and how it's shaped. I know a lot of people today are kind of referring to previous years and previous administrations as far as what they did when it came to immigration to kind of show that they're in the same boat, they're the same vibe.
Okay.
But there have been slightly different policies and slightly different takes on policies with the current administration.
Do you think it's more of an economic issue or a security issue?
To be honest, I don't really think it's either at this particular moment.
Okay.
I think it's being shaped as both an economic issue as well as a security issue. But I think if you just look at the people who are being detained, they're not people who are not contributing to society. They're not people that are dangerous for the most part.
Yeah.
There are always a couple of outliers.
Okay.
But I think it's just more of like, it's kind of a buzzword. It's a hot topic that people have kind of clung to. And I think that's more of the issue.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you're an attorney and you deal with immigrants almost every day in your practice. You see them every day. You go to work, you get phone calls, and you get emails. Now, when you say it's not a security issue, when the news is always reporting about one immigrant killed somebody, or an immigrant, committed a vehicular homicide, an immigrant, ran somebody, why do you think that does not come close to being a security issue?
I think they highlight kind of the outliers for the most part.
Okay.
So I think overall, when you look at immigration and you look at the statistics, people who commit crimes are predominantly American.
I'm glad you're saying that. I'm glad you're saying that. I'm glad you're saying that.
Yes, because I'm like, at the end of the day, a lot of people, they don't want to draw attention to themselves.
That's
They're not
right.
going to be the type of people to go out and committing crazy crimes. Now, granted, we do know that there are some, and unfortunately, those people have those bad apples have spoiled the bunch.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily think it's a security issue across the board. I know in the news there have been college students taken by ICE. There have been providers, parents taken. I think they said someone was grabbed out before a high school graduation.
Yes.
And it's like clearly.
In fact, there was a parent attending a graduation, and he was picked out of the graduation ceremony.
Exactly, and I think the other thing is people forget immigration is a civil issue. It's not a criminal issue.
Okay.
So if you violate immigration law, you, for the most part, violated a civil law.
Yeah, it's not an immigration law. Okay.
Right, it's criminalized in certain locations. There is a federal code, but that federal code has rarely been used.
When you say there's a federal code, what does that mean?
There's a federal code for illegally entering the United States.
Okay.
Most people who are going through the immigration process, immigration court, or even have pending applications before other immigration agencies, they were never charged criminally.
Okay.
So it's not
So
necessarily
essentially,
security.
they did not enter illegally.
So some did enter illegally or unlawfully. However, they were not charged in a criminal setting.
Okay.
They were charged for immigration court, which is civil. I think there's some political reasons behind that as well.
Okay. Now, it's interesting when you say that it's not so much of a security concern issue because, like I have noted in different conversations, one of the greatest violence that was committed in this country by an American citizen, not just any other American, a Caucasian American citizen, was Timothy McVeigh, who blew up, a building in Oklahoma, and hundreds of people were killed. He was not an immigrant. Okay. Benny Madoff, we say he made off with people's money, who committed one of the greatest economic fraud in this country. He was not an immigrant. He was a full-blooded American citizen.
Right.
So again, that speaks to the fact that some of the crimes that have been committed is not a predominantly immigrant issue or American issue, but it's just that the heart of man is what it is. There are immigrants who commit crimes, but they are so few and far in between.
Exactly.
Okay. So now what about an economic issue? Because there are studies that have shown that immigrants contribute largely everywhere, not just in this country, but even outside this country. They contribute to the economy of that nation. What do you think?
Greatly.
Okay.
They greatly contribute to the economy of this nation. I think there's been a misconception that immigrants don't pay taxes. That is absolutely false.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of immigrants pay taxes and they don't get tax returns like the rest of us. So those dollars are just in the system, distributed across the country. But also if you look at different industries, the agricultural industry, the import industry, America really doesn't make as many goods and services that other countries do. And specifically, America can't grow some of the things some of these other countries do. So we don't necessarily have the manpower or the skill or the resources
Okay.
to have certain things to boost the economy, to add to our economy, and to put it on our shelves here in the United States.
Now, with all the raids that are going on across the country right now, okay, ICE is invading schools, they're invading workplaces, invading the farmlands, invading hotels, hospitality industry, and all that. What do you think the long-term impact might be on the country?
Well, one, it's going to hurt the country financially in more ways than one. Again, people are working, they're contributing to this country. Without those tax dollars, we're going to definitely see a decrease as far as what America can afford, what benefits and resources states are getting from the federal government. Another basically issue that I think would be negative from all these ICE raids would be people are going to be afraid to go to work. People are going to be afraid to go to school. And then just from a logical standpoint, there are only so many spaces in immigration facilities. So we do know that they are expanding those facilities. However, the cost that ICE has, the money that ICE has used so far has been way over budget. I believe they mentioned, I think it was last week actually, that they're about $1 billion over budget. That money's coming from somewhere.
So where do they get? They're just printing more money,
Right.
just in order to fund the ICE agenda, right?
Exactly. They're putting the money into ICE and immigration, and they're taking it away from Medicaid.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I think it's going to have a huge impact on everyone, immigrants and non-immigrants alike.
Okay. I don't know if you are familiar or you are aware of what happened in California, where some farmlands were invaded, where they were, they raided the farmlands, and they picked up some of these folks who were harvesting the crops in the farmlands. And what happened was that by the following week, these farmers were not there. They were not there to harvest the crops. And some of those crops were already going bad.
Exactly.
And eventually, the agricultural industry is going to be affected. And not only the agricultural industry, the food industry is going to be affected.
Right.
Because it's either this food is not being harvested, so it's not available to be purchased, or the prices are going to spike because only so few of them are available.
Exactly, and I don't know if everyone remembers, but I remember them saying the price of eggs was going to go down. I don't know how soon or recently you've been to the store, but it doesn't seem like the price of anything is actually decreasing at this moment. So I think it'll just be worse.
Yeah, and of course it's going to also affect the hospitality industry because these are the folks who work in the hotels. They clean the hotels and all that. So if they're not there, they have to hire American citizens who will require higher pay for the job that they do. So guess what? All of that increased bill will be transferred to the guest who stays in the hotel. So hospitality is going to be affected.
And I'm not sure if you saw this recently, but recently even industries like the beauty industry, there was a nail salon that was raided recently in Georgia.
Really?
There were a couple construction sites raided both in Georgia and Florida as well. And people are wondering why there are delays in getting things built and getting shipment and being able to get certain appointments. It's because unfortunately we're kind of creating chaos throughout the country.
So it's interesting. So from a long term, from a planning perspective and from a visionary perspective, it's clear that some of the actions and some of the policies that are being put in place are going to affect the economy of this country, and this will affect every single person. Now, what would you say as an attorney who is involved in trying to get people integrated in the society? I come into this country today, I'm an immigrant, perhaps 25 years old or even 40 years old, I've retired from Africa and I want to come and live in America. Generally, what has been your experience? What kind of people do you meet within that bracket?
I think a vast array of people. I meet students that want to continue their studies. I meet people who visited the United States and found love. I've met people who are trying to just reunite with their parents or siblings or other family members who might be older or sick. So kind of a wide array of individuals have come through our office. And
what's your general advice to them? So most of the time, I'm sure you meet them, some of them you meet them only when they have a problem, when they have to go to court or something, right? Or do you meet them at those early stages? Do they come to you and say, hey, I am here and I want to settle down. Can you advise me? Can you counsel me on how to do this? Or you see them most of the time when they've already fallen into one problem or the other?
Unfortunately, the majority of individuals I see, I tell people they come to me when it's kind of late in the game. So when there are things that we could have done initially to kind of prevent the court or kind of prevent the denials from United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Occasionally we have a couple of people who come and they're like, okay, well, how can I stay? Is this realistic for me? Or, what can I do for my family or my friend or, a community member? Those cases I feel like a lot of times go a little bit smoother because they're kind of, one, earlier in the game, but two, they don't have as much already at stake.
Okay. Now, I'd like us to come back. We'll circle back to this because I would like us to give our listeners good counsel about how to get integrated into the society. But the one that is worrisome right now is the fact that people are being picked. They're picked from home, they're picked from street, they're picked at school. What do you do if you are having an immigration problem right now? Let's say, for instance, you're out of status and you're trying to get yourself into status, or you've gone to court, you've been issued an NTA, notice to appear, and you're already in court removal proceedings, or you have even applied and your case was denied and you have to appeal to BIA and all of that. How should I respond if I were in such a position?
I think the first thing is always try to consult an attorney first. Unfortunately,
consult an attorney.
An attorney,
not your friend.
Not your friend. We've had that happen a couple of times, but I know it sounds kind of very cliche. Each case is different.
That's right.
The day a person comes in could make a wide difference in their outcome of the case. I had clients that were sisters, and their had the same exact case. One case has been approved, one case is still kind of pending, waiting, just because the date they entered, they were different ages.
Different ages, okay. So it's important, and I think I'd like you to reemphasize that. It's important that you consult a professional attorney, not a fake quack attorney.
Yes, unfortunately, I know there are a lot of scammers out there. We're in Atlanta, so that's another thing. But it's very important to consult an attorney, specifically because one of the knowledge base, a lot of immigration attorneys are skilled in this area specifically, but also they're able to network with other attorneys and kind of have their questions answered if they get stuck on a specific topic. The other thing is you can hold the attorney accountable. If the attorney messes up your case, sometimes that can be helpful for you in the long run.
That was helpful for me. I mean, I'll tell you my story. That was helpful for me because I had to report to the Texas bar. I reported the attorney to the Texas bar. Of course, his response was useful in me getting my approval because it was obvious that he did not know his onions, and I used his response to respond to the CIS to get my approval.
Right, so see, you're a perfect witness of that. But also, like he said, the bar in each state is licensed attorneys.
That's right.
So there is someone that I have to live up, well, for me, 2 different states that I have to answer to if I do anything incorrectly or wrong, or if I miss a deadline. Sometimes people get a friend or a notary or a family member. You can't really hold them accountable the same way that you would if an attorney is involved in your case.
It's interesting, and I'd like you to really take note of what she has said, because for me as a Christian leader, I deal with this all the time. People tell me I'm going for an interview, I want to fill these forms, and I always insist, get an attorney to do it for you. I've told some people that as much as I have read about immigration matters, I will never go to an immigration interview on my own. I mean, I will make sure that I get an attorney, and that's what I advise every single person to do. Now, there are some attorneys who don't really know their stuff. How do you differentiate from an attorney who knows their onions and the one that does not know what they're doing?
I would say a lot of times Google is your friend.
Good. Talk to Dr. Google.
Definitely your friend. Because you can Google a person, an attorney, you can see how long they've been licensed. You could possibly find their resume, find information about them. But also, if you're in immigration court, they have a QR code at every immigration court, and they'll give you a paper list of all the attorneys who've been disciplined. So you'll be able to know, has the attorney that I'm about to hire, have they ever been in trouble? The bar's website also will tell you if they've ever been what we call admonished or sanctioned, or ever lost their bar license at any point in time, or been suspended. So definitely do your research. I will say, of course, even though Google is free, and most of these resources are also free, make sure that you're looking at reputable resources and websites for that.
That's right. Okay, so it's important for you to want to talk to Dr. Google and ensure that you are hiring a reputable, knowledgeable attorney, because from my experience, having been out there in immigration quagmire, I knew that some immigration attorneys didn't know what they were talking about. They really did not know their onions, and I had to do a lot of reading. You know, that was when the internet became commonplace and Google became commonplace, and so I had to do a lot of reading, subscribe to immigration bulletins, and read the manuals in order to understand what I was grappling with. Okay, that's good. Now you get an attorney. How much information do you give the attorney? Because some people don't tell their attorney the truth. Have you been married before? No, I've not been married before. And then along the way you discover,
You give your attorney everything, every little thing that you, and sometimes you might think it's irrelevant, like, oh yeah, I was deported before, or I entered the US and I filed this application, but I withdrew it. Doesn't matter. You have a paper trail at some point, and no attorney wants to be surprised at an immigration interview or immigration court, specifically in this administration, because occasionally you'll go, if the case gets denied, you're automatically being sent to court. If your case at court gets denied and you can't appeal it, you're automatically being detained or sent back to your home country.
Okay.
So tell the attorney everything.
Tell the attorney everything and tell the attorney the truth. You know,
Exactly.
it's important. If you've been in the country before, you want your attorney to know, you know, your real names, how many names you've had. Because, surprise, surprise, that's one of the things that's shocking. Once you go to the immigration officer, once they put in your name, that's one of the things that shocks me. When I applied for global entry. So I went there and the man turned on the computer and my name, I saw almost every little detail about me on that screen. The first day I came into the country, every single time I went out. So you don't want to hide all of that from the attorney. You don't want to hide that from your attorney because one day it will catch up with you.
And also with immigration, they will fingerprint you.
Yep.
So if you tell me, I've never been arrested, I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay.
So then when we get a long piece of paper saying, well, explain these 12 arrests in these 3 states, now I have to look at you like, oh no, we'll come right back to that. We'll come right back. Let me just go consult with them and see what's going on. And at that point, you've unfortunately kind of dug a hole that you might not be able to get out of.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's assume I'm a student.
Okay.
Okay, I've come into the country and I want to settle in. I want to settle down in this country. Okay, I come talk to you. Are there pathways where I can settle down legally?
Definitely. So it does depend on what you were studying.
Okay.
In certain cases, depending on your degree, you might be able to kind of extend that status and get an employer to sponsor you.
Okay.
In other cases, if you're a student, there are other ways to change status, specifically maybe through a family member, or maybe if you're a victim of a crime or things of that nature.
Yeah.
So definitely come and talk to an attorney and see any options
What
for
the
you.
options are.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about being a victim of a crime, and that's something a lot of people don't know about. You know, how being a victim of a crime can become a pathway for you to get integrated in the society, right?
And even lesser known, sometimes just being a witness to anything or having to testify before the court.
Oh, really?
In certain cases, that's enough as well.
Wow.
Yes, depending on what the case is.
Yeah, do you want to expatiate on that?
Yes, so there's something called a U visa. A U visa is for victims of certain crimes. You do have to get it certified, so basically either a law enforcement officer, a prosecutor, or a judge would have to certify it. And a U visa, that first step, once you get that certification, you apply for the application. And it is a lengthy process, but you can get a green card from that. So can your family members, even if they're not in the United States.
Okay.
There's a process called an S visa if you are an informant or a witness in certain cases. Depending on the case and basically the notoriety of the case, you might also be eligible for another visa.
Okay.
I will say that's becoming a little bit more difficult because
A lot of people are taking advantage of that, right? Or what?
that, but also certain locations are no longer signing off. So we're having to get a little creative every now and then.